Hi, I'm Tom Knight, and I'm here to answer the question about what kind of gear do I use for my live stream. Well, one thing I should mention is that besides being a puppeteer and a musician, I'm also a videographer. So before this whole lockdown and everything happened, I had a bunch of gear already. So I was able to use a lot of the gear I already had and make things look as professional as I could. But you don't really need to have the high level of equipment that I have. You don't really need professional gear. You can get some kind of consumer gear on Amazon that will work just as well. So the first question is, what kind of lights do I use? So I use a Lowell Omni light and a stand, and a Lowell Rifa light. And I also have these nice little fairy lights, these little tiny lights behind me, which I think is nice to have the background lit up. But there's a lot of lights you can get these days on Amazon that are inexpensive and will do the job just as well. So the other question is, what kind of mic do I use? This is a Countryman mic with a Shure system that I've had for many years. I've used it for like, I don't know, 20 years, and it's been great. I love it. If you're a professional puppeteer, you probably have something similar, or maybe you've got a lavalier mic that you use. And so long as it has an XLR input, you can use it with a mixer. Or you could just use a USB mic and put it directly into your computer. So one important aspect of doing live streaming, for me anyway, is to have a USB mixer. And it's important that it's USB so it can hook into your computer. The mixer I use is a Pro FX6 V3. It's a 6-channel mixer. I got extra channels because I thought maybe I'd be doing something with other musicians at some point. If you're just doing one vocal mic input, you don't need a mixer. You could just get a USB mic and just plug that directly in. But I sometimes play guitar. Usually in my show, I have a iPod that I use for music that I sing along with. So I needed a mixer that had at least 3 channels. And of course, there are many options on Amazon. So the camera I use is a Logitech 922 camera. I bought it because I thought it was going to be better quality than the one I already have in my MacBook. I think there are many options now on the internet to buy webcams that are high quality. One thing that works well for me in my setup is I put my Logitech camera on my tripod. That gives me a lot more options for just setting the direction and the tilt and the pan and everything. If it's sitting on top of your computer, it's just harder to adjust if you kind of like decide to move in or move out and you need to adjust your camera. One thing I recommend with your camera is try and set it up as close to your monitor as possible so that you can look at the camera and the monitor at the same time. If the camera's here and the monitor's over there, you'll find yourself continually looking off camera, and that doesn't look so good when people are wanting to see your face. It looks like you're not paying attention or something. So try to set up your camera right either like kind of in front of your monitor or right above your monitor so that you can look at the monitor and the camera at the same time while you're performing. That's one of the great things actually about doing live stream performances is I can see myself performing in a way that I couldn't when I was doing a live show. Some people really like green screens, and green screens can be great. If you do a green screen, I recommend you actually spend a little bit of money and get a stand and an actual green screen. I have one that kind of folds up. It's actually a little bit too big for the room. It's 8 feet. I believe it's 8 feet wide. But that way things will look really consistent and you don't get the situations where somebody puts their hand up and the hand disappears or the head disappears. The other important thing about using a green screen is to light it. Put a light on there, try and make it really even, and that will make your green screen effect work a lot better. I decided not to have a green screen because I wanted to be in an actual space, just because I like that. I like the aesthetic of that. So I'm really happy about the background that I have. It's fabric that I sewed myself. So everything I used was just extra fabric that I had left over from previous projects. Another thing that I use for my live stream is that I have an external monitor, which I think really makes things easier. Because when I'm doing Facebook Live, there's like the Facebook screen and then there's the OBS screen, and it's just nice to have a different monitor. The other thing with Facebook Live is there's a delay. So I mean, it might be 10 seconds or something like that. So if I'm watching myself live on Facebook, it's something that happened 10 seconds in the past, and it's very disorienting to actually watch that. Also, if you're on Zoom, it's nice to have a big monitor so you can see what you're doing, and you can see any people who are watching you, the other squares of people watching you, and you don't have to like squint to see them. The other thing that I decided to do was to buy an Ethernet cable to make sure that we had a hardwired connection when we were doing our live streaming. I think it's just important to make sure that you have the highest quality connection and live stream as you can. Well, I think that's about all I have to say about the gear that I use. Thanks so much for watching. Please, if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer as well as I can. And hope to see you again soon on a live stream. Bye.